Hello guys, and welcome to this video about mastering Tableau in 30 minutes. We are going to see a lot of important topics that are mostly used in companies. We're going to start by the data sources and importing files, drag and drop, which is the most important feature of Tableau, which makes it special. We are going to see different data types and geographical data, where we are going to use that data to plot maps. We are going to see how to hide fields that you are not going to use in your analysis. We are going to see the joins, the relationships, and the blending and the difference between these three. We are going to see the sorting, filtering, sets, reference lines, and grouping. We are going to talk about the worksheet marks. We will create hierarchies, create table calculations, create calculated fields, create parameters, aggregation, and granularity, and we are going to see the difference between these two. We will then create an interactive dashboard, and finally export that dashboard as PowerPoint or as an image. So let's get started. First of all, I assume that you have already installed Tableau Desktop on your computer, and in my case, I'm using Windows. So as we can see here, in order to work with Tableau, we have first to connect to a data source. We have here three different connections. We have the Tableau server. Tableau server is another type of Tableau products. So here we are using Tableau Desktop, and there exists Tableau server. So generally, each team in a company have its own folder in Tableau server where they can store some confidential data sources, some confidential files that only the team can use. And also generally we store what we call Tableau extracts, which is a type of data sources in Tableau server. So to connect to Tableau server, you have to put the link that you are using in the company in order to sign in. The second type, which is the type that we are going to use in this tutorial, which is connecting to a file. You can connect to different files, and mostly Excel files and CSV files are the most used, but you can connect to JSON file, Microsoft Access, PDF file, etc. The third type, which is connecting directly to the data center or to your database, and Tableau holds most of them. For example, if your company use AWS, for example, you want to connect to Amazon Athena, Amazon Aurora for MySQL, Amazon Redshift, or you are using Azure Data Lake, Storage GEN2, Azure SQL Database, Databricks, IBM DB2, Google Analytics, MySQL, PostgreSQL, etc. So Tableau offers or integrates with the different servers. As I said, in our case, we are going to work with an Excel file, and you can find the link in the description in order to download it. So click on Microsoft. It will direct you in the data sources folder within documents in your computer. So you click on Sample Superstore and click Open. Now that we have uploaded our Microsoft Excel file, we can see that we have three different tables. So table 1, which is orders, people, and returns. We have only one connection, which is Microsoft Excel file. You can add another connection. For example, if you have 2, 3, or 4 files, or you want to connect to a Tableau server, to connect to another server, you can click on add, and you can add a connection. So we are going to click on orders and drop it in here. So here we can see a lot of things. First, we have the dimensions. We have 21 fields and nearly 10,000 rows. So we have 21 columns and nearly 10k rows. Here you can define the number of rows that you want to display. Here we do have 100. You can put it 1000, and the maximum is 10,000. All right. So here it will display to you all the rows. Okay, so we have 9,994 in our case. So we come back to 100. Okay. All right. So here we see the connection. It can be live or extract. In our case, since it is an Excel file, it is the same thing to be in live or in extract. The difference between these two is the following. For example, if you are using a Hadoop database or another database type, data may be updated, for example, daily or each hour or each 3 hours. So each time the data is updated in a database, it will ask to be updated in Tableau. So if you are working with big data, for example, for millions to billions of rows, this may create a problem because you cannot change like 100 or 200 millions of rows in 3 to 4 seconds. So this may create an issue. What you need to do is that you need to create an extract, and for example you define some rows and some columns that you will only use in your analysis, and even though there will be an update in the data source, it will not have an impact on your workbook. And to do that, we use the data source filter. So you click on add, so you can add different filters in here and create your extract. But we are not going to do that today because we are working with a CSV file and it has defined number of rows and columns which will not be updated during the tutorial. The second thing that we can see is the different data types. So we have here number, which is a whole. We can modify it to a decimal, to date, to a string, to a boolean, and define a geographical role. Okay, so as you can see here, we have the row ID and it does not have any geographical role, and it is defined as a number. We have the date, which is defined as date. We have the shape date, shape mode, which is defined as a string, etc. So if you want to modify data type, you click on the data type and you change it, for example, to boolean, to date, to a number, etc. For example, if you see that you will not use customer ID, for example, or customer name, you can click in here and select hide. Okay, when you click on hide, it will be removed from your workbook. And the same thing, for example, for customer name, you can click on hide and it will be disappeared in your fields. As you can see here, we have now 19 fields and the number of rows is stable. Here we can refresh our data source. Here we can click on data and add the new data source, refresh data source, duplicate, export data to CSV, etc. Here, as I said, if you want to sign in the server, or you can publish the data source. For example, if you are going to do some modifications, and for example, as we have said, you can create your extract and you can publish it in your Tableau server, Tableau public, and Tableau public can be used if you want to make your dashboard public. And now, if we want, for example, to create a relationship between people and orders, so you can drag and drop people in here and it will create for you a relationship. Okay, so if you click on relationship, orders to people, cardinality many to many, and related fields, region equals to region. Okay, so we are going to remove that. We are going to create a union. So we click on open, people, and it will create an inner join. Okay, so we have inner join, which means that it includes only values with matches in both tables. So the left join include all values in the left table, which means in orders, and all matches from right tables. The right is the inverse. It will include all values in the right table, which is people, and all matches from the left table, which is orders. And for the full outer, it will include all values from both tables. So members without matches show up as nulls. And for the joins, we can create up to 32 joins. For example, if we add returns in here, it will directly create another join. And the condition is that all the tables have to be in the same data source. Otherwise, Tableau cannot create all the joins. So as I said, in order to create the joins, we need to open our table and add the different tables in order to create the joins. So the difference between joins and unions is that the joins, it will add columns, whereas union, it will add rows. So now we are going to remove that and remove people, and we stay only, or we will connect only to orders. So we click to sheet 1. As you can see here, we can add new worksheet, new dashboard, or new story. For example, to create new worksheet, you click on that and it will create for you sheet 1, sheet 2. To change the title, double click on it and create, for example, test 1. And the same thing for the sheet test 2. Okay, and if we want to create a dashboard, dashboard, you click on new dashboard and you can add different sheets. So for example, test 2 and test 1. In a worksheet, we can create only one chart or one plot, whereas in a dashboard, we can create and combine so many graphs and plots that are created in the worksheets. So dashboard is a combination of worksheets, whereas for a story, you can find either worksheet or dashboard. Okay, as you can see here, when we change the dashboard to worksheet, we cannot have two different things. For example, dashboard and worksheet, or worksheet and worksheet. Whereas in the dashboard, we can have two different worksheets. Okay, so this is the main difference. We start by worksheets and create our different graphs, for example, maps, highlight tables, stacked bars, etc. Then, if we want to combine all the worksheets together, we create a dashboard and import the worksheets that we want to use together. Or if you want to create a story, then we can use either dashboard or worksheet. Okay, so now let's create our first graph. As you can see here in our table, we have two categories. We have the dimensions and we have the measures. Okay, so we have two types. We have measure names and measure values. We can convert, for example, here convert to a measure. Okay, product ID in a measure, and for example we convert sales to a dimension. Okay, but it has no meaning. Okay, to have a product ID as a measure. So we click on Control Z and we come back to our first case, which is product ID as dimension, and we have the sales as measure. Okay, so as you can see here, when we click on sales, it will give it in green, whereas when we click on, for example, region, it will be in blue. So one thing that you have to understand is that discrete values are in blue and continuous values are in green. Okay, so if we convert sales into discrete, it will be in blue, but it has no meaning, so it has to be a measure. When you see something or a field in green, it means that it is continuous, and if it is in blue, it means that it is discrete. Here, when you click on show me, we can see the possible graphs that we can create with what we have selected. So in columns, we have region, and in rows, we have the sum of sales. So we can change that. Okay, we can create a pie chart, we can create a tree map, etc. Okay, so we stay with stacked bars. Okay, we can change, for example, the aggregation, it is sum. Okay, so the measure is a sum. We can convert it to average, we can convert it to median, we can convert it to count, etc. Okay, so now we are going to see 5 different things. We have sorting, filtering, grouping, sets, and reference lines. We start by sorting. For example, we select cities, so we drag and drop cities into rows. Okay, and we drag and drop quantity into text. Okay, so here we see the different quantities in the cities. If we click in here, so we have sorted descending by sum of quantity within city, so we click on that, and we have the order. Or if we want the ascending order, we click in here. Okay, so if we click in here, we have the descending order, and here to change the view, we have the standard, fit width, so within width, fit height. Okay, so we are not able to see clearly in the worksheet. and we have the entire view. It is the same thing. Okay, so we click on standard and it will give us the series with the different quantities. We can change the sum into the average. Okay, so we click on that and measure. We have the count, for example, the count distinct. Okay, so we have different types of measures. Okay, so we stay with the sum. If we want to filter that depending on the region, so we click on region and drop it on filters. It will say to us if we want to, for example, in the central and in the east. We click on apply. Okay. To view or to see or to show the filter, we click on show filter and we have it in here. Okay. If we click on all, we have all the regions, so we have everything. If we click in here and customize, so show all values, okay, we don't want to show all values, and we can select, for example, single value as a slider. It has no meaning. Single value as drop down, so we have to select, for example, the central, the south. We can select only one value, or we can select value as a list. Okay, so here we have the filters. We can also select multiple values as a list. Okay, or multiple values as drop down. Okay, so we select east, for example. Okay, so here it is about filtering. If we want to use another filter, for example, category, same thing. Okay, we want office supplies, apply. Okay, and if we want to show the filter, okay, show filter, and the same thing. We can do the same thing. We can change the title. Okay, so click on edit title, and for example, we put it in bold and in 15, for example. Okay, okay, so here we can change the title. If we want to clear the filter, we click on clear filter and clear filter. Okay, now if we want to create a group, okay, so we drag and drop. For example, a group of cities, we click on city, and we can create a lot of things. We can change the alias, for example. If we want to change city and give it another name, we can transform it. Okay, we can group by, create an hierarchy. So the hierarchy, we are not going to create it yet. You can create, we can change the data type, we can convert it to a measure, and we can create a lot of things. For example, calculated field, group, set, and parameter. So we are going to create a group. For example, we call it city group. Okay, city group, and we are going to, for example, select. Okay, we are going to find. Okay, for example, words that start with A. Okay, we write it. Start with A. Find all, and we group it. So here we change the name to group A, for example, group A. Okay, we can create another group like starts with B, find all, and we create on group. We call it group B. Okay, and we select include other, so everything else will be in other. So apply. Okay, so here we have three different groups. We have group A, standard. Okay, and if we want to know the quantity, for example, in each group, we create here and we select the measure count distinct. Okay, for example, we have group A, group B, and other, or the total. And if you want to select, for example, the number of cities in each group, so we have measure count distinct. In group A, we have 27 cities that start with A, 34 cities that start with B, and 470 other cities. Now, if we want to create, for example, a set. Okay, so we create city, we select create set. Okay, and we create, for example, the top 10 cities depending, for example, by field, so top 10, and for example the total of sales. So we select the top 10 cities depending on the sum of sales. Okay, so create an OK, and we put cities in the rows. We have said that the total sales, the sum of the sales, we are going to order that and sort that on the descending order, and we put our city set in the filters. Okay, so it will directly select the top 10 cities depending on the sum of sales. Okay, and generally when we work with sets, we have to select add to context. So add to context, which means that we are using context filters, and context filters are executed before the sets. Okay, now to create reference lines, we are going to create another graph depending on the date. For example, if we put ship date in the columns, okay, and here it is automatically selected by years, so we can change it to quarter, month, day, and more, customize, and for example year, quarter, and year, etc. So we clicked on the exact date, it will give us the exact date. Okay, and for example we want to select the quantity sold in each day. Okay, so the quantity, and to make it clearer we can click on the ship date, put it in filters, years, next. For example, we want to know the total of, we selected the total of the quantity sold in 2014. Apply, okay. So here we have the ship date and we have the quantity sold. Okay, we can right click on the axis, click on edit axis. Okay, and for example you can modify the title or you can remove the title. We can do the same thing in here, right click, edit axis, so remove the title. Okay, we can for example include or not include 0. So to add a reference line, we can right click on the axis, okay, and add the reference line. So reference line, for example, we can create constant, and we can give it, for example, some modifications have been done on, for example, April the 2nd, 2014. Okay, we can select the type of the line, okay, and click on OK. So it will add automatically the line in April 2nd, 2014. Okay, we can add a horizontal line, so this is a vertical line, and we can add a horizontal line, for example, add a reference line, for example the average, the quantity average, and for example we can add a line like that in black and click on OK. So it will give us the average, okay, the average from the start date to the end date. For example, if we want to create dual axis graph, we can create on, we can press Control key and drag and drop the sum. Okay, so in the second graph we want to put it as an area chart. Okay, and the first graph, for example, we want to put it in black, line chart in black. So if we click on dual axis, it will automatically create a new graph. Okay, so this is to create a dual axis graph. And to understand better the different things that we have in this worksheet, like for example we have worked with filters, with the marks, we have worked with colors, we have worked with label, and for example for the tooltip, it is what we are seeing here when we click on or when we move the mouse on the graph. Okay, for example we can change it by clicking on tooltip, okay, and we can click, like for example, total quantity, for example, shipped on, for example, the date. Okay, so here this is the sum. Okay, for example, is total quantity shipped on, can put the date in here. Okay, and remove the ship date. Okay, when you click on OK, it will be modified. Okay, so total quantity shipped on May 30th is 27. Okay, this is to change the tooltip. Okay, for the path, you can change it into square, for example, and to zoom, you can click on your mouse and select the part of the graph that you want to zoom in, and you click on keep only. Okay, so you are going to see the second graph. Okay, so we are going to remove that. Okay, you see it as in step. Okay, as step function. Okay, we click on Control Z and Control Z, so we come back to our original path. Okay, the size is the same thing, so it will be clearer if we create another worksheet. Okay, so if we create another worksheet, for example, we want to select, let's say, okay, ship date, ship date, okay, let's say by month. Okay, and the cells, it will be in a bar chart. Okay, and if we select the exact date, okay, we can also select only 1 year, for example, ship date, we select 2014, apply. Okay, and you can change the size. Okay, so the size is manual, and we can increase or decrease the size. Okay, so it depends on your use. The label, we have talked about the label, the size, the color. Okay, for example, if we want to change the color, and also for the detail, it is generally, for example, if you want to add, for example, the year into the tooltip, you put it in detail, and you select, for example, if it was not in here, you can say insert, and you can find it. Okay, so you click on OK, and you will see everything on your tooltip. Okay, so this is about the marks. And now, for example, if we want to create a map, okay, so here, if we want to create a map, we can select the state. Okay, and when we click on the state, it won't give us anything. We have 49 unknowns. So Tableau does not recognize directly the states. What we are going to do is that we are going to create a hierarchy. Okay, so country, create, or hierarchy, create hierarchy. So we call it my hierarchy. Okay, okay, and we add the state to the country. So hierarchy, add to hierarchy, we have our hierarchy. Now if we click on the state, it will give us the states, the United States of America. We are going to select field map. Okay, so you click on map, and for example, it will depend on the cells. Okay, so the colors will be in the cells. Okay, as you can see here, we have here a legend. So if you want to remove the legend, you can click on analysis, legends. Okay, if you want to remove it, or you want to display your legend. Okay, you can use filters. For example, if you want to see central legend, okay, show filter, want to see the east and the central. Okay, so you can select everything that you want. You can also change the title, so edit title. You can write my title, okay, or my map. Okay, can change it like that in bold, for example 16. Apply. Okay, you can format your title. Okay, format, for example border. Okay, you add a border. Shading, for example, you put it in this color. You can also format your worksheet. Right click on the worksheet and click format. For example, you can modify the pen, the header. Okay, so the title, for example, the tooltip. Okay, everything will be changed. We can do the same thing for the previous graphs. Okay, so here we have the dual chart. We can right click on the worksheet and click on format. So you are going to format everything. Okay, okay, so we are going to add black lines, the header the same thing, and the row divider the same thing. Okay, we can do the same thing for the colors. Okay, for the cell, the pan and the header, column divider the same thing. Okay, so here we can also format title or edit title. We call it dual chart. Okay, bold 16. Apply. Okay, click on format title and you add border, you add shading, the same thing. Okay, so here we have modified the dual chart, we have defined our map. Now if you come back in here, okay, and you remove the city set, you have the sum of cells. Okay, and you want to create what we call a calculated field. So we create calculated field. So we call it more, or cells more than 20k, more than 20k. Okay, so we write if sum of cells is greater than 20k, then 1, else 0, end. Okay, so here we created calculated field. Okay, okay, we convert it to discrete, and we are going to put it in the filters. So we want everything, or the sum of cells which is greater than 20k. Apply. Okay, so we will have everything that is greater than 20k. So this is called a calculated field. Now for example, if we want to create a table of or want to use calculations tables, we are going, for example, to create another worksheet. And for example, if we want to see year over year growth. Okay, so we are going to select the years. Okay, ship date, for example. Okay, in the columns, year over year, and the total sales, we are going to put it in text. Okay, and we are going to add the different cities. Okay, so here we have the different cities, and if we want to create table calculation, so quick table calculation, we have, for example, running total, difference, percent of total, rank, percentile, moving average, compound growth rate, and year over year growth. Okay, so this is about the year over year growth. And if you want to select icon, okay, keep only. so we can visualize the year-over-year growth of the city. Now we are going to create parameters. As you can see here in this sheet, we have selected a filter that is 2024. We cannot change dynamically the date. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create two parameters and a calculated field in order to change the date dynamically. Okay? So we remove the filter. Okay? We create parameter. We call it start date. Okay? It will be a date. Okay? And it is range. So add values from order date. The range it is okay, and we are going to create, okay, so just modify this, the name, edit, okay, it is start. Okay, we are going to create another parameter, we call it end date. Okay, and date, it is also a date, it is range, values from, we said order date. Okay, then we create another parameter, we call it create not parameter calculated field, we call it study period. So if we say order date is less than or equal than start date and order date, sorry, it is the inverse. Okay, it is greater than start date and less than end date, then 1, else 0, end. Okay, apply. Okay, so we convert that into a discrete and we put it in the filters. So we convert it to a dimension. Okay, study period 1, apply. Okay, so we start date show parameter, end date show parameter, and we are going to select our date. So as you can see here, we can change the date dynamically without zoom in or zoom in. Okay, we have selected here the order date, so we have to move the ship date and put order date, not state, order date. It is the exact date. Okay, and it will change dynamically. Okay, so this is the purpose of using parameters. We can also edit the worksheet. So edit access, we move the title, same thing in here, edit access, I'm going to move the title, we change format, edit title, so total sales, apply. Okay, so if we format that shading, it will be also with this color border. Okay, no, not this one, tag, and format title, not for edit title, it will be in the middle, bold, and 16, apply. Okay, so right click, format, so we are going to edit the worksheet. Okay, sheet. Okay, put everything in bold. For the line, we can do the same thing for the sales, the pane, and the header, okay, the row divider and the column divider. Okay, so we have everything in here. Now if we want to create our dashboard, okay, so we delete that and we are going to define our dimensions. Okay, so we are going to add the width, okay, like this, and I can add the width. All right, and here when you add worksheet, you can add them in a floating mode, okay, or you can add them in standard mode. Okay, for example, if I convert this one into floating, okay, so I can change it as I want. Okay, this is floating. Now if I add the map, okay, I will also convert the map into floating. Okay, and you can change the size as you want, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Okay, so if I want to add the map, I'm going to add it in here, and if I want to add another sheet, I'm going to add it in here. Okay, so we have the total sales, the dual chart, and we have also the map. Okay, so here is our dashboard, and if we want to apply everything to all the worksheets, you click on, for example, apply to worksheets, all using this data source, and you can see we have an interactive dashboard. So if we click on this, everything will change. Okay, so this is our dashboard, just to understand how exactly can we work with the different dashboards. So now if we want to export our dashboard, we can click on dashboard, export image, and you can save your dashboard as an image. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope that you have learned and understood Tableau. Thanks for watching and see you in next tutorial.